what is the leash for Dean Evason? Like, how do you personally feel, Isha, about, like, is he currently in jeopardy to lose his job? At what point would he be in jeopardy to lose his job? Like, what are the factors? Like, where do you personally stand?
So I've said this about a lot of coaches. I don't think there's anything wrong with cutting ties with your coach early in the season. I really don't. But you have to give an appropriate amount of rope. For me, it's 10 to 15 games, and we're getting close to that. If there is no buy-in, if there's no adjustments, if there's no drive to
There'll
make
never be adjustments.
well,
So-
if there's no drive to make changes and get the guys excited to play for you and play to win. And if the systems aren't working, not let alone the buy-in, if they're just not working, even if they do buy in, there has to be a change. There has to be a change. I don't want to go as far as to say it's getting stale, because there are some new faces on this team. There's some new line combinations, but barely. I think it's very much appropriate to cut ties with him before they dig themselves too big of a hole, because if you cut ties with your coaches 20 to 25, 30 games in, you're pretty much done at that point. But sure. 10 to 15, you still have plenty of time to salvage the season, plenty of time to implement new systems, plenty of time to make a little bit more mistakes, like a few more mistakes before you get into the rhythm.
Okay, so a couple things then. First, I'll ask you, and this is again all from your perspective, yep. What is the criteria for why a coach should leave? Like, let's remove wins and losses from the equation, right? Like, what do you need to see that either says you stay or get the fuck out?
Systems have to work, and they've had to be proven to work. Obviously, you need buy-in. So, and it's hard for me to like really calculate that, but I mean, based on the performance of the Wild, you can see they're not buying in right now.
No, I mean, I'm with you there though. So I don't even know if it's buy-in right now. It's hard to say, because right now the locker room seems defeated, and it's not necessarily like I can't point the finger and say whether that's Evason, whether that's injuries, whatever. But I think it's more, has the coach lost the locker room, right? Like, you see that so many times where it doesn't matter. Like, I'll admit right now, I'm a little bit starting to wonder in Pittsburgh, and I've defended forever Mike Sullivan. I'm wondering if he's starting to lose the locker room. And every great coach, like, happens. There is a shelf life for every coach in the NHL.
Every single one.
Except apparently for Tampa Bay, where, like, I don't think he's ever going to run his course. John Cooper, I don't know. But it's really just the reason that Evason worked in the first place for me is that he had a pulse on the room. The players bought in. He was a player-first coach. The X's and O's not always there. There's not lineup changes. Like, he doesn't make adjustments, but he knows how to get the most out of his guys. If that goes away, you're fucking toast.
Yep. Because the systems seem pretty elementary. Like, and then as a result, he's not making any. And I even wrote here, bold moves, bold adjustments. That at least shows me that, okay, we have to do something. If you're not doing
a change just for the sake of making a change, there's got to be.
It's not a sake of making it at this point. At this point, it's not. So you have to do something.
I understand. Now, the real question, because we just talked about our opinions, and I mean, I won't go too far into mine, because really my bigger concern, what's Guerin think? Where do you think Guerin's head is at, and what is the true rope? How long is the leash? And what are the determining factors that either give him more or less leash?
It's tough, because all Guerin has said publicly has led me to believe that he's just going to continue to endorse Dean. You know, like,
why though?
He hasn't given me a reason.
Well, I can give you plenty of reasons. I don't know that I agree with them, but like, it's pretty easy looking at,
because he does what he says.
History repeats itself, Isha. What has Guerin done in the past to defend Dean, to defend the team?
That they've been winning under him?
No, they're cap strapped. They are literally playing without 16 million cap. That's not Dean's fault. That's Bill's fault. He's playing without Jared Spurgeon. He's playing without Matt Boldy. I personally, it doesn't matter how bad it looks right now. I find it really hard to believe the way that Guerin represents himself and the relationships that he's built in the org. I would be surprised if he makes a change before Dean has at least like 5 to 10 games full roster. Because again, he can make the excuse about the buyouts all the way. It is reasonable, though, to say he is literally missing his captain and he's missing his second best forward. Like that is a real thing. Now, you and I talked about it. I don't think that that's what's wrong right now. Would that help? Absolutely.
That is a very fair point, though.
Beyond it. I'm seeing problems beyond it, but I think that Guerin will use that to punt the problem down the road, wants to give Dean every chance to work his way out of this. He basically wants Dean to give him no choice but to get rid of him. I'm with you, though. Early in the season, it's okay to move on. It's a lot tougher, though, when you literally just extended this dude.
Honestly, though, like we've seen it so many times where teams have extended coaches and then gone. Like,
I'm not saying that that's not the case. I'm saying for Bill Guerin, I find it hard to see that happening unless it's truly bad and it's with all of his players.
Yeah,
that's my personal opinion,
and that is 100% valid. I totally get that, and you know what? If that's fair, like I'm not going to rebuttal that or anything. What I don't like from my GM, from the general manager whose team we're following here and support, I don't want excuses, even if there's some validity to it at this point. At this point, like it's your job to fucking win. It's your job to win, and I don't want to punt. I don't want to punt. Like, I don't care if you have a full roster or not. Like, if you can fix it, still try to fix it, because at the end of the day, what is his job? His job is to win, not wait until they're not cap strapped anymore, and then be like, okay, now we can really do it. Wild fans, I'm sorry, that's not how this works.
No, I'm with you, and I think the real answer we already hit on. You kind of led me there, but I said the actual words. When's he going to lose the locker room? If Dean has lost the locker room, you got to move on. I don't fucking care who's playing and who's not. If the team is still buying in and they're just not performing, I'm more forgiving if Guerin chooses to keep going with Evason.
Absolutely.
Because again, that's the biggest thing to me is when I see the lackluster effort, especially against lesser teams, that to me says, okay, like coach has lost the team. But I'm not in the locker room. I don't know that that's the case. Evason could have these guys like primed and ready and they just come out flat.
Yeah.
Like you can blame the coach, but at the same time, like at a certain point, the players have to take responsibility as well. So I don't know where that sits, but I tend to believe that we're going to have Boldy back soon, Spurgeon back within the week. I'm thinking we got about 2 or 3 weeks here
until Thanksgiving.
Figure out
until Thanksgiving.
Pretty close, yeah. So I mean, let's just call that the deadline.
Let's do it. That is the deadline. Yeah.
Started playing better. I don't care where they're at in the standings at that point. I care how the team looks in the few games leading up to Thanksgiving. If this team looks like they're back and playing like they have been at their best of late, great. I'm okay with it. If not, pull the fucking plug. You gotta. Yeah.
There's plenty of coaches out there, man. There really are. And my last thing I want to say on this,
and you gotta beat them to it, because I'm pretty sure
the dominoes are gonna fall around the league soon.
Edmonton's got to be pretty close to fucking letting Jay go.
Oh yeah, you have to. With that roster,
it's looked bad. It's looked real bad.
And whenever a new coach comes into an org,
going to go to first.
What's that?
To me, it's obvious. Who do you think the first coach is that's going to be hired?
See, I don't know. I want to hear, because I don't know. There's a few out there, so I want to hear your opinion.
The guy that keeps on getting fired, Gerard Gallant.
Oh my God, yes.
And I think that's the guy that Edmonton could pounce on.
He's the guy who comes in and just instantly finds success, then loses the room a year later.
Right. He's the quick fix, because for them, that's what they need. They need the quick fix. They need to compete. And more importantly, they need to make sure that Leon Draisaitl isn't running for the door.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there.